Hi, everyone. This is Kathleen, the founder of Transcendent Authors, and I'm here to introduce one of our newest members, Jen Rinaldi. Why don't you tell us first a little bit about your background? I know you're an artist and a writer, and you do so many things. Tell me some of the things, what got you started in all this artistic stuff?
I've been an artist since the day I was born. Visual arts have always been something I've been involved with since the earliest times. I'm a dyslexic, so writing was never something that came easily, but it did come naturally once I overcame the hurdles of that. Um, I started college at the Art Institute of Chicago on a full scholarship after high school. I
Wow.
had taken the President's Award in Scholastic Art my last year in school. So there were several colleges that wanted me to attend, but money being as it is and not wanting to take out a ton of loans, I did. Everybody does. Chicago was the closest place to where I was. So I started in Chicago, and that was the year of Dred Scott, the man who put the flag on the floor, and it ruined our whole freshman year.
Oh,
All of the galleries and all of the shows we were supposed to have as freshmen were canceled because Mayor Harold Washington put a stop to it after Dred Scott put the flag on the floor and had people walking over it to sign his autograph book.
oh my gosh.
That's when the writing started, because I was asked to write my impressions and my opinion about what he did and why he did it. And although I understand free speech, I was very against what he did. It just, not only did he destroy, any semblance of a normal freshman year that we would have had, he enraged a city, and for no good reason to me. I thought it was just a stunt to get his name out there, and that's all it was.
Mhm.
There's free speech, and then there's speech that's just there to create controversy, and that's what that was. But the good part of that, the good side of it, is that started me into writing, and I started writing on a normal, everyday basis. The Art Institute at that time had a lot of professors from Northwestern who taught writing there. So I had a lot of very good instruction along with the arts. So the two of them sort of played hand in hand uh, throughout my career. After the Art Institute, I was so disgusted, I never went back. I finished out my year and decided that I didn't want to be part of that city. I didn't want to be part of that scene. And I ended up going to Milwaukee Institute of Art and Design. And from there, I got a formal art background. It was a very new school back then. They only had 4 instructors, so a bunch of us decided that we'd go out there and support that. It was a quarter of the price.
Hallelujah for that.
And yeah, and Milwaukee was close enough for me to find a better living arrangement and finish there. I went there for a couple of years, and then I finished out my education. I took a few years off. My main job at the time was stained glass. I
Mhm.
worked in stained glass for 18 years. My partner and I had a small business in Milwaukee, so Milwaukee Art and Design. Between that and working a full-time job as a stained glass artist and a sandblast artist, I decided to, after she decided to move, finish my education at UW Milwaukee, and that's where I achieved my degree. After that, I went to work for Oakbrook Esser Studios. I studied under Johan Minton, who is a Dutch glass painter.
Yeah, the
Uh,
names sound familiar to me.
yeah, he's very well known. In fact, you can look him up on the internet. He's still on the Oakbrook Esser site. He was classically trained, a journeyman in glass painting, so I learned all of the techniques.
Wow.
We did Tiffany restoration along with Frank Lloyd Wright. We did Mel Gibson's lamps for his house
Wow.
in Aspen. We never got to meet him. I never got to meet him. In fact, we weren't supposed to say anything for the longest time. But there I was for 5, 6 years, and I thoroughly enjoyed that job. One of the best jobs I ever had, a great boss. I worked with all Germans.
Mhm.
And they were wonderful for teaching a dyslexic to do things in a very rational manner, setting out your tools. I did some design work, although Johann was the one who did most of the design work. He taught me how to do Christ at Gethsemane. We did those several times.
Oh, wow.
Churches, back east all had those beautiful windows, and
Hmm.
they're always in need of repair. That's not the case here. We
Yeah.
have very few. But it's, this was the West and it was newer and people just didn't put the money into it like they did back there. So there came a chance. My old partner from Milwaukee moved to Arizona and she asked me to come out here. And I decided I wanted to change. So I moved out to Cave Creek in the year 2000. Immediately met my husband, who is also an artist. Our business ended up closing. She ended up wanting to move. So for a while there, I was jobless, but I was writing for a local paper there. The writing always continued. Never thought about writing a book, never occurred to me. You could drag me kicking and screaming. Writing was tough still. Years went by. John and I sold that house, bought a house in Sonoyta, and had a ranch for a while. I was a manager at a fairgrounds for 5 years, the Santa Cruz County Fair and Rodeo Association. And there also I did lots of writing because we had to do the productions for the rodeo, the
Oh.
pamphlets, all of the paperwork. We had the horse races, so I had to produce that document too, the race schedule, which was a 12-page document.
Hmm.
And I did that all in Publisher back then,
Hmm.
which is a terrible program if you've ever used it. It's
Oh,
glitchy,
yeah.
horrible.
I still do use it for certain things because there are some things that it can do very quickly.
Trifolds. It's
Yeah.
very good with trifolds. I can understand them on that program, but
Hmm.
don't try and do a booklet because unless you transfer it to a PDF, and at that time we had a printer that would print them for us. During my tenure, we ended up buying a really expensive print machine, and that's when Publisher just wouldn't work.
Hmm.
It wouldn't segue into that machine, that Kyocera, no matter what you did. So
Yes.
I had to learn InDesign. And InDesign is what I used to publish my first book. Now on to where
Ah.
the books came from. When we moved up here, I didn't know anybody except for Marley, because Marley was a
Okay.
postmaster in Sonoyta. That's how Marley and I know each other.
Really?
Yes, you probably didn't know that.
No, I just knew she was an onion rancher.
Yeah, yeah. She's a very creative lady in her own right.
Yes, she is. Yes, she is.
And when she moved up here, we didn't move together. I just knew her as the postmaster, and she used to help me get my bulk mailing done for the fairgrounds. So when we moved up here, I didn't, like I said, didn't know anyone, and started reading. I've always been into sci-fi and romance. I didn't even know what paranormal romance was, had no clue, but ended up sort of getting funneled into that. And I devoured books. In 1 year, I think I read 300.
Mhm.
Which is easy in that genre, because that genre, a lot of them are not complicated. The storylines, the tropes are not tough.
Mhm.
Then one night I had a dream. I was driving to my mother's in Green Valley, and I had a dream about a talking car and about a spirit taking over that car. And I wrote my first novel in less than a month.
Mhm.
And after that, three more followed. So I have three ready to go. Couldn't find anybody. Wasn't really clear on how to pitch an idea, how to do an elevator pitch. I didn't know any of you. Didn't have the experience, but did my best. Uh, what a journey. I would love to sit down and talk to others that have gone through the same thing, because you make a lot of mistakes and waste a lot of time trying different things. I still haven't marketed my book correctly. And I have
Yeah.
another ready to come out, and will be marketing when I get that book ready to go. Uh, my first publication was done through InDesign.
Mhm.
I did both the ebook and the print book myself. The first iteration of that book was a nightmare. The editor I hired did a terrible job.
Yes. Been there, done
Yeah.
that, bought
Yep.
that.
Yep. And
Mhm.
I didn't know you, and I didn't know AutoCrit. I soon after that first book came out found Grammarly, so at least I had a little help there. I
Mhm.
could grind it through that, but that doesn't pick everything up either.
No.
You need
No.
human eyes to read that,
Yes. Yes.
to tell you if a story makes sense or not. So I had handed off my book to a few trusted friends, and one of my friends, who is now, in the top 10 in Amazon, she wrote a book called Speaking with the Archangels. She edited the book the second time, and I had also passed it off to my friend Rita, and she edited it as well. So that book, the first book, ended up being edited three times by three different people. And
Mhm.
it's finally something I can be proud of.
Mhm.
It's not rife with mistakes and
Oh,
uh,
yes. I That's the class that I'm going to be teaching. That's what this is all about. All those mistakes that we make, hoping to teach people how to avoid them.
yes, yes. And what platforms work the best for translating text into ebooks and
Mhm.
translating text into print books?
Yeah.
But it's always nice when you can share a journey and say to someone, look, don't go that route. It's going to take you too long.
Yeah, and there's so many new things out there. When I started writing was in 2019, and it has jumped exponentially,
Mm.
not just with AI, but just in the broad range of what each, like autocrit came in. And that has increased to where now you can get a comparison, things that you couldn't get before.
Right, right.
Um,
And we have Atticus.
yes, and Atticus, I love Atticus.
I was
It's,
using Readsy, and Readsy is a great program for what it is, but it doesn't do what Atticus can do.
mhm. And there's now another one for those people that are like us, science fiction, and you have to have world building. You have to have something like that, some kind of rich background, especially when you do series. And that's
Yeah.
Campfire. Well, now Campfire is publishing also.
Oh,
So you can go from building, having all of your um, manuscript, all your background there, everything to published in one
wow.
program.
That I'll have to look at.
Yeah. And it's really decent. Um, Not to advertise for them, but they sell by module. So if you're a writer you get the manuscript. Then you can get the like geography, languages, all of that, where you can put all of those things in there. Religion, because I build other worlds in space. So there's always a religion there.
Sure.
And so I have to build something for that. And with dystopian, you also have religions that develop because of the cataclysmic. We watched a little bit of Mel Gibson's Under the Dome,
Yes.
you know, and these kids had all made up things. You know, they had a wood frame that resembled the outline of a TV shape, and they told a story from behind it so that they were imitating TV.
Oh, excellent.
You know, things, little things like that that people don't realize the loss of continuity in a society happen. And these
Ruby
were all
Dixon.
kids raising kids.
Yeah, yeah. Ruby Dixon has a series like that, a dragon series,
Mm-hmm.
where they're, breaking into, decrepit Walmarts and trying to find enough to survive,
Mm-hmm.
clothing. They don't have the knowledge to really make the fabric anymore.
Yeah, because there's nobody that knows how to spin yarn,
Right.
and books have been destroyed, so they don't know how to read. Everything is oral. So something like that, you do have to have, and their language was totally different. You had to pay attention to what the kids were saying to know, and they were out back in the Australian outback. So how the words played was different than American or any place else. But the emphasis on it was just, I looked at it this time from a writer's perspective.
One of my favorites was Ridley Scott, one of my favorite writers. And I remember reading a book that he had written, and it was so engrossing. It was dystopian,
Mm-hmm.
and it was about how the language had changed and how people couldn't communicate from one community to another. It was
Yeah,
sort of the Tower of Babel
exactly.
storyline.
Exactly. Because the when you think about it, we all, you know, I jokingly say, when people say, "What languages do you speak?" I said, "Well, I speak American, and I speak Southern, I speak Midwestern, and I speak Californian. Valley Girl." But I also speak the King's English now,
Mhm.
and I speak some Canadian. So that's, you know, that that's the extent of my language. And people don't realize that there is a huge difference in each corner of our United States. Even when you go to Hawaii, um, my son lived there for 4 years, and we went back and forth a couple times. But everybody is Ohana family. But if you don't know what that is, if somebody doesn't explain that, you you're lost when they start calling you Ohana.
Sure.
And it's the same in Alaska. And you get down close to the border there. Somebody looked at me strange here because the other day I said something about chonies. And they're like, "What are chonies?" And I said, "Underwear." It sounds better to me, to my ears, than underwear. I like the word chonies. But you take that someplace else, And you mix that into your language, like pidgin language. Somebody comes in from Northeast, they don't understand.
Right, right. Sure. Wisconsin had the bubbler.
Yep, yep, yep. See, I'm from Northern Indiana. I get a little bit of the Wisconsin because they would come over. We'd get Illinois, Michigan. We were right on the Michigan state border.
Sure. Now, Upper Michigan, you've got the Upers.
Yep, yep, exactly. So, what are your plans for your
Oh.
future in your writing? Do you have something that you're working on right now?
Yeah, I'm I'm working on book 2, which is written, and so is 3 and 4, but I'm focusing on book 2 now that I have some new tools in my arsenal. I'm running book 2 through AutoCrit
Uh-huh.
and chewing on that. I'm working on a short story based on book 1 to submit to our friends at Transcendence.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also in the hopper way in the back. I studied under a nun named Sister Thomasita when I was in Wisconsin. There was a college there called Cardinal Stritch. And Sister Thomasita was one of the most gifted, talented women of her time. She was on the cover of Life magazine as being the radical nun. She created a Christ that was in a modern venue at a time when nobody in the ecclesiastical confines would ever dream of doing a modern Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And this Christ still is in Wisconsin. And it's a tragic story what happened to the nuns at Cardinal Stritch. The college decided to go secular. So some of the nuns had been there all their lives.
Oh.
They kicked them out. And me and a group of friends, we called ourselves Studio San Damiano. We moved all the nuns. And Sister ended up, she was good friends with one of the main writers from the Milwaukee Journal, James Auer. And James Auer took it upon himself to write a bunch of stories about us. And we started an art school, Studio San Damiano. And it was full of writers and artists. And for many years, I taught children's art for years, but it was always very Catholic based, religious based program based on Sister's teachings
Mm-hmm.
and her techniques. And I see myself in years to come, before everybody who knew her has passed, writing a nonfiction book about her life, but also about her art techniques, many of which I still teach today. The painting with paper class that I've taught through my friend's gallery, that's one of hers. She has finished the picture that she used to do with young kids and adults alike. What was neat is that her adult students and her kids both did the same projects. Because you always need to humble yourself, and a child needs to be lifted.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes the results between the two were so similar, it boggles the mind. So before that knowledge is lost, I see at least one nonfiction book
Oh,
and maybe
wow.
a book.
I
So
so wish my son lived closer. His daughter, she turns 10 on the 1st of March. She has expressed a real interest in art, um, to the extent that because my son works from home, so when the kids come home, he's there and he sees her off in the corner and she's drawing and stuff like that, and then shows her work to her mom when her mom comes home. And her mom came over to my son and says, "Is she copying something? Is she tracing it?" He says, oh no, that's all freehand. So she's, I don't know if she's still into it, but you know, it's something that I would love to have seen her get involved in. And same thing with my oldest grandson from my daughter. He is very artistic. My daughter is too, but maybe someday she'll go back to it.
Sure, sure. Well, Sister's philosophy was based on the fact that we teach people how to read and write and think, but we never teach them how to feel. And what the arts do is teach you how to feel. You have to know how to deal with your emotions in order to be a whole human being. You can know everything there is to know about neutrinos, but it
Hmm.
doesn't mean you'll understand how to deal with the bully who sits behind you.
Exactly. And I hate to say it, but most parents, 99% of the parents, are not equipped to deal with those kind of emotions. And the teachers, their hands are tied. There's not a whole lot they can do.
No.
Um, but you know, this has been so interesting. Before we close, I do want to ask you, one day closer to death is behind you on the wall.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Well, the book starts. In fact, why don't I play the video? I'll
Okay.
share screen and
Okay.
that'll give the viewers just a taste of what it's about.
Okay.
And let me find it.
This is the first time we've shared screen on a interview, so it's going to be awesome.
Just give me a minute and I will find it. It is in writing. And hopefully the sound will come through too.
Did you make the trailer yourself?
Yes, I did. I made it on Canva. And I love that program.
Oh, so do I. I use it all the time. I haven't created a trailer on it though. I need to.
I don't know if the sound is working.
It should. Where did you live in Wisconsin?
Milwaukee, and I worked in Oconomowoc.
Okay. Part of one of my novels is based in Wisconsin,
Oh, neat.
going up towards, oh gosh, I had to go there for closing a unit down when I was active duty and to investigate a report of sexual harassment. Marquette.
Marquette, yeah. I
Yeah.
lived in the building right next to Marquette, the
Okay.
YMCA.
Okay. Okay.
I don't think the sound is working, but this can be seen on my website.
Okay.
And and I will stop it there. Let's see if I can stop share screen. Did it stop?
I'm not seeing anything, hon.
Oh, okay. Well, then maybe it didn't share. Let me try again.
Yeah. Now I can see it.
Okay. Let me go back. Clips. Come on, open.
It is.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, it's opening. I can see it.
There it is.
Even without the sound, it's beautiful. Oh my gosh, this is gorgeous. Very nice. Jen, thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing that and a, a look into your life. We really appreciate it. And thank you for joining us at Transcendent Authors.
Thank you for having me.